I have thoroughly lost interest in Leagues 4. Now, in saying that, many of you who know me in game or have talked to me or, listen to podcasts know that I had talked about wanting to really, make some good content for Leagues and really, throw my hat in the ring with that. This may come as a surprise. This whole video may come as a surprise to you, including everything I'm about to talk about in this video. If this is your first time watching my channel, my name is Mayfield. I am a level 3 Ultimate Iron Man. I do mostly progress videos, and also I do some podcasting. So I've had a few people on. So if you enjoy the video, if you enjoy my thoughts, I very much will implore you, feel free to hit the subscribe button and come along for the ride. Now, I have a few talking points that will lead me into how this video is going to be formatted. The first point we want to start with here is the Relic and area system that Trailblazer Reloaded took, of course, from the original Trailblazer League and expanded on it, giving us Zaya, giving us an extra relic on top of the old max cap of tier 7, as well as giving us a ton of access to content we didn't have in Leagues pretty much since the first one, because I don't think Zaya was on Leagues 3, but I think Leagues 3 was probably the weakest of them so far. I even say that making this video, I barely played Leagues 3. I barely touched it at all. So this one grabbed my attention for a lot longer, but none of them have grabbed my attention the same way as Twisted League did. Not saying I want a revamp of Twisted League, because I think that would ruin how fun it felt at the time. So let's get into the issues. Before getting 7 relics was already kind of a chore to unlock the entire game. And now you're adding a whole nother relic tier that is extremely difficult to get to if you're not playing, well, extremely difficult to get to quickly if you're not playing very quickly and very efficiently, to finally unlock the entire game mode. Now, in saying that, I'm going to equate Leagues to basically like creating an Iron Man. When you create an Iron Man, you have goals and you have steps to reach those goals. You can't go do raids until you have, say, a trident and a whip and a few other things. Obviously, I am not a combat account, therefore I am, just spitballing off the top of my head. I'm sure there are lower tier raids you can do with Ibans, Rune Crossbow, Dragon Sim, whatever you want to do. Like if you're going to Tombs of Masket, doing entry modes, try and spoon an early Fang, something of that nature. Leagues 4 amplifies this section of the game mode to such an extent it just does not feel enjoyable. The first few relic unlocks feel really good. You get the boosted experience rates, everything starts to feel like it's coming very quickly, and then suddenly you hit tier 5 or 6 and you hit a massive brick wall. Because now you're like, well, what do I do next? The overwhelming amount of things to do, but also the the absolute linearity of what you need to do is awful. And it's why I don't think Leagues 4 is just hitting the same as the original Leagues 2 or even my favorite Leagues 1. This relates to Iron Man mode in the most gregarious way of being over the top, chore after chore after chore to reach what you actually want to do. Now, some of you may say, well, you get to where you want to go a lot faster, though. Yeah, of course that's true. You get there a lot faster. But in a time-gated game mode, with somebody who only has 2 or 3 hours a day or even less than 10 hours a week to play, they're never going to get to where they want to, especially if they're just trying to have fun. The biggest part is if you're only playing a couple hours a day, you need to spend your off time while you have off time with lunch at work, whatever it may be, figuring out what the plan is for when you log on and never deviating from that for a second if you want to stay in the game and enjoy it do raids with your friends, do solo raids, do content you've never tried before. Maybe go for your first Infernal Cape, give you the confidence to go for it in the main game. All of that being said, the time-gated part of the game mode, and this is kind of leading into part 2. I haven't finished part 1, of course, but the time-gated section of the game mode is really what hurts, because it encourages you to spend more time on the game to try and reach your goals in, 8 weeks? Instead of having it a truly infinite amount of time until the whole game shuts down to finish up. Let's not deviate too far from point 1, which of course is still on our relics. I think that the relics this league were honestly fantastic. You really couldn't have asked for a better choice of relics out there. Everything was just very exciting. Every tier had great choices to make. There was almost no wrong choice to make. Here I am praising something that I am at the same time tearing down. And that's because even though I think it's gotten boring and stale for me, does not mean anything, really. This is just me getting some thoughts out on the game mode itself. And this is me talking about, for those who listen to my podcast, may have heard me talk about the fact that I am going to make videos on Leagues. I have a big plan for Leagues videos. Obviously, with this video coming out, those video ideas have completely been put to the wayside. And I will be planning on creating a similar video type outside of Leagues. It will be a lot longer to progress and a lot longer to really get down. I think I went into it a little bit too overzealous. I went into it with this mindset that I needed to get things done. And that was not great. So all that being said, let's talk a little bit about the areas part of the game. So much content they decided to gate between 2 or 3 areas together kind of baffles me. Of course, that's kind of how the game's laid out. You know, you can't get the Desert Treasure 2 upgrades without first having your Fremennik rings. If they wanted to, and I'm sure they thought about this and like being able to make the rings without having the original Berserker, Warrior, Archer, Seer's ring in the first place, but that would very heavily devalue the Fremennik area, and I'm sure they didn't want people to take stock out of all of the areas in the game. So, how could they have fixed this? Well, virtually they couldn't because of the way the game is set up. They could have taken the weaker areas and tried to buff them up by giving them a lot more things to do in regards to tasks and bigger point rewards. I know that in Leagues 2, Taranwin, huge place to go for people because Taranwin had the Bofa and all that stuff, and there was no Zaya. So, you had the Bofa to get. That was what people wanted, the Bofa. And you had the Elf City, which has so much in it, and all that kind of stuff. Well, in this league, Taranwin kind of got pushed to the wayside. Because now you have Zaya with basically anything you could ever want. The Desert, which has the Fang, which is, you know, not technically better than the Blade of Saldor in everywhere, but it is just overall a very good item. So, whereas Leagues 2, the Desert was pushed to the wayside with lack of content. Now, this time, you've lost Taranwin, and I would even go as far as to say you've lost a lot of Fremennik, because these things just didn't make a lot of sense to go for in that way. All of that being said, when setting up your areas, you really had to think about what you wanted to do for the entire set of the game mode, which, of course, is not a bad thing. One thing I think they definitely could have done to fix the area problem is giving us another area to unlock, or at least being able to give us the option of, hey, you can take content from this area and you can basically bypass it. So, like I said, for example, if you wanted to get the Desert Treasure 2 rings, maybe if you chose to bypass some area, they would automatically give you access to build the 4 rings without the Fremenic. Or maybe, for example, gained access to the Smoldering Stone, or like the 3 boot stones without Asgarnia, or anything of that nature. And I think that's a few small things that could have really led to the longevity of the game mode. I know people will still be starting a brand new League account this deep into the leagues because it lasts for quote-unquote so long. But that also leads me into a big part of point number 2, the time gate. Leagues being a temporary game mode, of course, makes sense. I think constricting people to 2 months, and in probably one of the most, like, for many people across the world, family-centric times of the year. Of course, that's not going to apply to everybody. People don't, see their families that much. Maybe they live in other places, parts of the world, parts of the countries, that they're just not going to be able to do that. So they need something to do. Doing this, say, in the middle of the summer would, of course, I believe, make more sense, especially with people out of school. People end up having more free time just because, just in general for that specific reason of less school. And of course, that doesn't help the people like myself who have full-time jobs, and you don't exactly get the summer off when you have a full-time job. But it helps, it helps boom the player base instead of just catching people when they have a 1 or 2 week break off of work, school, whatever it may be, that month off college. And a big part of that brings me into point number 3, and that's promoting unhealthy gameplay. Time gating the entire league to this specific section is going to be promoting people to play long hours to catch up. Maybe they want to go for dragon rank. Maybe they want to, see their name on the front page. All the clickbait videos. Oh, I got front page Leagues 4. And they were front page for literally 10 seconds until the game literally caught up and everybody logged out and you were surpassed almost instantaneously. The thought that people need to spend an unhealthy amount of hours in this game to have fun is perpetuated way too much. You can enjoy playing RuneScape if you only have an hour a day, if you have 10 hours a day. I know that some weeks I get to play 10 hours, some weeks I get to play like 40, like a full-time job. And I enjoy every moment I can, and when I stop enjoying the game, I stop playing that. I'm sure I'm beating a dead horse at this point when it comes to the unhealthy amount that people play this game. We know people call them the EHP athletes, or you're sweaty, or whatever it may be, but people enjoy this game, and if it does not impact your well-being, your sense of life, your enjoyment, your pleasure of whatever it may be, if you can healthily play this game for 10 hours a day, still go to the gym, whatever it may be, whether you're a content creator, whether you still live at home, in high school, college, whatever it may be, if you have that ability, great. But Jagex is purposely promoting this unhealthy gameplay at a time like the festive season of the year, right? During this season, you're supposed to be spending time with people, spending time, and like I said before, that is not going to be everyone. Some people don't have a happy, healthy home life, and they need the escape of the game, whether it be a healthy or unhealthy coping mechanism. It's not my place to judge what you do in your free time as somebody who literally is speaking into a microphone talking about a video game on the internet. Why should you listen to me? You shouldn't. You shouldn't. Because this is, once again, just me getting my feelings about Leagues 4 off my chest. And that kind of brings me into my final point when we talk about the YouTube content, is the oversaturation of content about Leagues 4. And here I am knocking on wood because I'm making a video about Leagues 4 into the YouTube space. There is not there's very, very few creators who have not made at least one Leagues 4 video, big or small, including obviously now with this video, myself. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but man, do I get bored of seeing the people do the same exact thing in 3 different videos for 30 minutes per video. And the regular stream of content can be so unique from RuneScape creators, whether it be the Group Iron content, the Hardcore Iron Man content, the podcast content that I create, update content, or other podcast content. Of course, you've still got the Sebe cast, you've got the revived Hexus podcast, you've got a few other ones out there that people do. You've got fantastic streams of people playing different game modes, different limited builds, breaking the game in fun ways and learning more and more we can. This 8-week break and 8-week oversaturation of Leagues 4, man, it just gets, I don't know, tiring as somebody who loves to consume a lot of content on YouTube while I'm playing the game. It just helps me, get through my time playing the game, helps me get through those grinds that I'm, not particularly excited for, but also, like, I don't hate them enough to just not do them. So at the end of the day, I'm not telling people, I'm not going to tell anybody anything. I'm just saying, I'm speaking what I believe to be not I believe, but what is my opinion on Leagues 4. And you can agree with that. You can not agree with that. I know this has kind of been a little bit over the place. I try to keep it as cohesive as possible. That doesn't mean I did a good job. So, all that being said, Leagues 4 was fun for about 30 hours. But man, does the league get boring fast when you are basically forced to finish all of the gross tasks you don't want to do to unlock everything you need to be able to do all the fun stuff. Unlocking the fun stuff shouldn't take, especially in a limited game mode, shouldn't take 2 weeks, 3 weeks if you're not playing efficiently, if you're just, having fun playing the game, playing a couple hours a day. If it's supposed to be such a heavily accelerated game mode, it should take me, 3-4 days, because then I don't feel pressured that it's a time-gated game mode. I know I can log into the main game for a couple days and then go back and play some leagues for a bit, knowing that, I can go, get 5 twisted bows for fun. Because it's fun to destroy bosses. It's fun to see the giant XP drops, right? No one's going to deny that. At the end of the day, it was fun while it lasted. Even in saying all of this, I'll still be excited for Leagues 5 if/when it happens. And I hope they do something to really mix it up and make it less like a chore every single time when I log in. So, thank you for listening. If you've gotten this far, I appreciate you listening to me talk into this microphone aimlessly. This is not the first time I tried to record this video, so it took me a few attempts to really articulate everything properly and not sound like a mumbling buffoon. So, thanks once again for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, shoot a subscription out. There will be more content coming out in the future.